A couple of weeks ago, I preached a sermon where I insisted that to truly follow Jesus often forces us to be uncomfortable and maybe even to be offended a little bit, to be scandalized a little bit. One of the areas where I think that is really true is one that is kind of highlighted by a short reading that I saw recently, written by Richard Rohr. It's just a couple of paragraphs long, but I want to read it for you nonetheless. The key to entering into the divine exchange is never our worthiness, but always God's graciousness. Any attempt to measure or increase our worthiness will always fall short, or it will force us into the position of denial and pretense, which produces the constant perception of hypocrisy in religious people. The switch to an economy of grace is very hard for humans to make. We base almost everything in human culture on achievement, performance, accomplishment, and equal exchange value, or some kind of worthiness gauge. I call it meritocracy. He's not the only one to have called it to that, but he goes on to say, unless we personally experience a dramatic and personal breaking of the rules of merit, it is almost impossible to disbelieve or operate outside of its rigid logic. To break the rules of merit, I think he's talking about things like forgiveness or grace, receiving things that we don't deserve because we haven't merited them. I find this to be, at the same time, a little bit offensive, and on the other side of the coin, incredibly liberating. It's offensive because I want to believe that I deserve. I want to believe that I have somehow merited what I have, that I've earned it, I've worked hard, and that is often true in life. It's what it takes for us to, at least that's what we're told, that we must earn everything we have. And so to say that the divine exchange, to use Rohr's words, is not based on my ability to merit that exchange, but based solely on God's desire to join me and meet me and be with me in relationship, that's a little bit offensive. And yet at the same time, there's an incredible freedom to be found there. There's an incredible freedom in the idea that I don't have to measure up with everybody else around me, that God's love for me is not based on who I am, but on who God is. It's not based on my goodness, but on God's goodness. It's not built about my merit, but on God's merit. And if that is true, then that frees me to be myself. It frees me to be honest about who I am. It frees me to acknowledge the areas where I'm not who I want to be, which then frees me to acknowledge, when I acknowledge those things, it frees me to be able to become the kind of person that I want to be. Yes, following Jesus can be at times a little scandalous. It can be uncomfortable and it can be offensive, but there is always a purpose behind that. There is the freedom that kind of offense makes possible, a freedom that allows us to, if we stick with it, to be made new, to be transformed, and to really truly become the people that we have been called to be.